just give a acknowledgement. Oh, that's interesting. An acknowledgement as well. Okay, it might come in and out. For the natives of these lands, many of them who are friends of mine as well. Not all the natives of California, but just, the people that I know. So I want to just acknowledge, those folks as well. And this poem, of course, is the workshop is about heritage, right? Cultural heritage. So I have something here written, and I'll go ahead and just kind of read that culture and heritage paragraph. And then we're going to move into the examples. Yes, and if there are handouts over here. And for those of you who are online, they received the PDF of the handout. Okay, fantastic. For those of you who are online, I will remember to help you with the census part of it. Even though you're online, I'll give you some different instructions with regards to the census. So, cultural heritage. Culture and heritage can be found in the rituals, sayings, religious practices, or ceremonies your family kept, or in some cases ignored. Heritage can be found in how you interact with your spouses, loved ones, society, and yourself. I should have put that on there. Using the senses and sensory details, we will write a heritage poem by unearthing and uncovering those memories hiding and locked in our everyday words, actions, interactions, and our conversations. Hopefully by the end of this workshop, you'll have a lovely poem or several poems that represent and sing your heritage for yourself, for your family, a family member, for your neighborhood, your town, or your region. Okay. So I'm hoping that, and actually, let me ask you, how many of you are writing something that deals with culture or heritage? How many of you are working on maybe a collection of poetry now or memoir? Okay, fantastic, lovely, lovely. So hopefully this will fold into what you're doing already. I also have to say thank you to Women Who Submit. I forgot to say that at the beginning. Thank you so very much, Women Who Submit. Can we clap? I'm so incredibly grateful for this powerful organization. I love how you all just dropped into the literary lexicon of Los Angeles and changed the paradigm. So, and then it's actually a paradigm you're changing worldwide, since there are branches in Toulouse and branches in different parts of the country. So I just want to say thank you all. I'm very grateful for the work that you guys are doing. So thank you, thank you. And Kate's not here. Yeah, Kate's not here, but thank you to her as well. Okay. Any questions so far? Any questions? Thoughts? All right. So turn to the poem, the first poem in the packet. I do a lot of heritage work, a lot of cultural, I call myself a cultural worker. And this is a poem from one of my collections of poetry, Who's Afraid of Black Indians? So my ancestors are from the North Carolina and the Virginia area. My African ancestors, I haven't traced them back to Africa, but in terms of that mixed raciality, it's been North Carolina and Virginia. My nations are Kahari, Eastern Band Cherokee, Delaware Cherokee, and Choctaw, and then of course African and also European. So I'm dealing with that mixed raciality in my work and what it means to come from those different strains, and then to have this identity that I have as a Black person in America, as a Black Indian person in America. So the poem that I wrote traces for my NC Sampson County manuals is a poem that set me on that journey or the path of trying to find who are these people and why didn't you leave a better path for me to follow you, to come back to. Since 1830, every 10 years on the census, my third great-grandfather disappeared in his skin. First Indian, then mulatto in 1840. In 1850, he was eventually white. What were we? My fourth great-grandfather could have left an easier trail to follow. One of cornbread, drum songs, splintered wagon wheels, anything to locate their breath on the ravaged air. The scent of pokeweed and unpicked cotton, something to wet my finger and test the wind of a 344-year silence, all the way back to North Carolina and Virginia. a porous golden map of some kind, deer bone, a horseshoe that told us how to interpret the dreams we had, dreams that scared the mess out of us when dead people came to call, when the crystal future unfolded like a horror movie in our dreary heads. We knew them, the ghosts folding air-dried sheets, clipping wooden pins off a clothing line, walking away with a full basket of my grandfather's wet white bones, into mist, into shadow. We will never find him. So, thank you. Thank you all. So you see that I tried to break down in the first part of the poem what represents the elements that create that cultural poem and the heritage poem for me. So that first line is that the element of detail, the sense of location. We also call that sense of place and time. So when I give the date, right? The date, and then I'm also giving you the detail of where I got the information, the census. And then I move into the image. He disappeared in his skin. So hopefully it's both an image in your mind, but I write a lot of tactile lines that hopefully you can feel and taste as well. And then in that last stanza in 1850, he was eventually white. And for me, actually, the epiphany moves from this line and that line to the rhetorical question, what were we? So it's like, what is happening? How can I find them? As the writer, as the person who is looking for identity, right? What were we? And so again, you can see that I'm looking at heritage, the figure, sensory image, sensory detail, and then I stopped at the back to North Carolina and Virginia heritage portion. So, and I want to turn to, and I'm trying to be mindful of the time because I want to get you all to write, turn to the poem after that, Let America Be America Again. And I only want to read the first maybe 20 lines of this. Can I get some volunteers? Can I get some volunteers? And then we'll talk about what makes it a heritage poem. So if you could take the first 4 lines, can I get someone to take the next? Thank you. So you'll take the next 4. Anyone else? Thank you so much. Next 4 and the next 4. And a last person to take the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5, 15. My math, I'm in English. One more person, yes. Okay, thank you. All right, let us read. Let's begin.
Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the throne, seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to be. Let America be the dream, seeking her dream. Let it be the great song and of love, where never king, connive, or tyrant.
Who's reading this? Sorry, the microphone. Yes, again, thank you.
I'll just do the title. Let America be
Yes,
America
please.
again. And I see you.
Yes, thank you.
Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain, seeking a home where he himself is free.
America never was America to me. Let America be the dream of dreamers' dream. Let it be the great strong land of love, where never king connive nor tyrants be.
That any man be crushed by one above. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic deed.
But opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free.
Say, who are ye that mumbles in the dark? And who are ye that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white, fool and quick of heart. I am the Negro wearing slavery's scars.
I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope we seek and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. I am the young man full of strength and hope, tangled in that ancient endless chain of profit, power, gain, of grab the land, of grab the gold, of grab the ways of satisfying need, of work the men, of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed. I am the farmer, bondsman to the soil. I am the worker sold to the machine. I am the Negro, servant to you all. I am the people, humble, hungry, mean, hungry, yet despite, hungry today, despite the dream. And I'll stop there. This is a powerful Langston poem. We don't read this one a lot. We don't read this poem a lot, but where do you see heritage in this poem? Look at the details, look at the sensory images, look at his language. Where do you see the heritage? Where does it arise?
Slavery scars. Slavery scars.
Yes, thank you.
Slavery scars, that's history.
Right. Thank you. Good. Anyone else at this table? We can pass the mic from this. Yeah. Who else? Where else do you see the heritage? Just in the lines. Anyone?
Homeland of the free, that's supposed to be.
I like that. No, she was telling me to stay in the little area.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Anyone else? Thank you.
The immigrant, yeah.
Say it a little louder.
The immigrant.
The immigrant clutching the hope, the red man living from the land, it's the heritage of all the disenfranchised.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you. Raina said, that's what you wanted to say. She was like, that's exactly what I wanted to say.
As a pioneer on the site, covered in the beginning.
Exactly, definitely. Oh, you were gonna pass the mic around. Okay, yeah. Anyone else want to isolate just in terms of now, and you can talk about just what you think about the poem or what the poem makes you feel. So I think she had her
Oh, I was just gonna say one more heritage thing, homeland of the free.
homeland of the free, right? And it's interesting because the land or whose home it is changes in this poem. Nice, thank you. How do you feel about the poem? How does it make you feel? How does the poem make you feel? Yes.
It could have been written today. I could have, like, we have the same struggles still.
Yes.
I feel like the poem could have been written today. We still have the same struggles. We still have like the dreamer program. So have people struggling with different types of forms of slavery today in modern society.
Right, exactly, yep.
We're still trying to grab the ways of satisfying needs.
Right. Capitalism is still something that we're dealing with. Homelessness, people trying to obtain some kind of happiness, right? The quote unquote American dream. Some people call it the American nightmare, depending on what culture you come from as well. Oh, sure, yes.
So I wanted to share that Romaine Washington is on Zoom, and she says angry is still relevant today. There are too many homeless.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for that as well. I love that because we don't read a lot of Langston Hughes poems that show that sense of anger or frustration or, his sense of, hey, America, let's come together. There's one poem, Let America, I Too Sing America, right? But we don't see the detail in that poem. We don't see the detail in this poem as well. Anyone else? How does the poem make you feel? How do you connect to the poem? Where do you connect?
Well, the structure is very moving because there's objective facts,
Yes.
but yet there is the misery of feelings of business emotion. You buy into it.
Right.
You know, I mean,
I do.
it's objective telling of facts.
You believe it.
Right.
You believe it. Mhm. I love that. Okay.
It's tricky to do objective It is tricky to write objective misery
Right, right,
without
right.
getting.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It is, no, it is. But it's interesting because he makes those declarative statements. He'll make declarative statements, or he's declaring something as well. Yeah, and he used a lot of like the exclamation points, and I'm trying to get this idea across, but the lines are emphatic in and of themselves. The details are, for me, the details tell the story of heritage and culture. So now I want to get us writing our own heritage and culture poem. You have a couple of examples. Hopefully you've started thinking about your own ancestors or someone in your life that you'd like to represent in this heritage poem. And on the table, I have something to help us with our senses. The first sense is scent. And so I'm going to tell you where the workshop came from, and I've modified it. Paula Allen Gunn taught this workshop to my friend Ruth Foreman. Ruth Foreman taught this workshop to me, and I've since modified it and kind of moved on with, what it means to write a cultural heritage poem through the senses. So just naming where the line of this workshop came from. So when you engage the scent or your sensory detail, you're going to write 5 things that it reminds you of. So for example, on the table, you should have either, let me move this over here. There's lavender on this table. There's a candle right here. I'm going to put this here as well. One of my publicist actually is Hungarian and Congolese, and this is a bake mix from her from the Hungarian side. So I'll put that here. Also, there's tobacco on the table as well. You guys don't have a hot and sweetgrass. So you'll pass it around, or if there's tobacco, you can take the tobacco or the lavender. And so smell it, get familiar with it. And then let the sense create images, let the sense or the scent open something for you in terms of memory. And then once you start feeling that memory, what are 5 things that it reminds you of? For those of you who are at home on the Zoom, smell the back of your hand. It could be something in your home as well, but smell the back of your hand. And what are 5 things that the smell reminds you of? So you can write words or a line or a scene. What are 5 things that the scent, the smell of the back of your hand or whatever you have on your table reminds you of? Let it open the memory. Free flow. And as you're thinking about that, you can start thinking about elements of your childhood. Is there some connection in that scent that reminds you of strongest memory from childhood? Maybe a memory that defines or represents heritage for you? And that can be any kind of heritage, a family business, a location, a holiday. What is a strong memory from childhood? Finish up that last thought, last idea. The next sense we'll engage is taste. So on the table, you have mints, but if you don't want the mint, there are also strawberries over here. There are cookies, there's, so if you want that as well, but go ahead and take a piece of the candy off of the table. Put the candy in your mouth. And let the taste of it start to open up memories. Write down 5 things that the taste reminds you of. And think about the texture as well, like the texture of the image. 5 things that it reminds you of. For those of you at home, you have the option of, if you're eating breakfast or if you've got something close to you in the kitchen, but just one thing, not a bunch of things, but it can be maybe sipping tea or coffee. Or it could be maybe having a piece of toast. But for you at home, you could also just do what the taste in your mouth is right now, but 5 things that it reminds you of. Maybe you already ate breakfast. Maybe you already did that, for those of you at home. What does it remind you of? And now start thinking about, with the taste, how can you show that with an image if you haven't already done that? And maybe show it with an image. Thinking about a moment you became aware of your race or ethnicity or culture or heritage. So something in the taste that reminds you of your heritage and of your culture. Something you inherited or got from a grandmother or a grandfather. Dig deep that memory. And at this moment, also write how maybe that memory changed you or added something to who you are or shifted your understanding of the world. To finish up that last thought, last idea, last image. She's doing everything.
Well,
You're awesome. I'm sorry. Was it heavy? I'm sorry.
No, it wasn't heavy. It was
Oh,
accidentally.
okay. Wow, this is the first time I think that I've touched an American flag this big. So this is your site. What are 5 things that the sight of our American flag, I say our American flag because that's on my passport too. But what does this flag remind you of? The colors, the red, the white, the blue, the stars, the yellow, the eagle on the top. So you can do the flag and the flagpole. What are 5 things that it reminds you of? And see if we can get that in imagery. And for the site, this is when you can also start thinking about or shifting or adding this aspect. But with that site, maybe add a line about a person who you loved or love, but who also betrayed you. Or someone who tried to make you deny your culture or your heritage or your history. So you have the image, you're writing about the memory, the 5 things that it reminds you of. And now we can talk about somebody who you love or something that you loved that also betrayed you. Any questions for anyone at home on the YouTube channel or YouTube, I'm sorry, Zoom, on the Zoom? Sure. So for sight, I'm asking you to write the memory, what this reminds you of, what the flag reminds you of, but also we're moving to someone who you love or loved, or something that you love or loved who betrayed you. Or maybe you perceived it as betrayal. Or someone who tried to make you deny your culture, your heritage, your history. So we're still moving in the imagery, we're still working with that sensory element, but now I'm kind of focusing the writing a little bit. Someone who you love but betrayed you, or someone who tried to make you betray or deny, rather, your culture or your heritage. And I'm going to have you finish up that last thought, last idea. We're moving on to touch. So on the table, you have cotton balls. Grab one of the cotton balls and just hold it in your hand and feel it. What are 5 things that the touch reminds you of, that the texture reminds you of? For those of you at home, you can feel your hair. You can touch your hair, you can touch your scalp, the roots. What are 5 things that the touch reminds you of? Let that memory come. And I'll add another piece for touch. Now you can also think about a line or writing something in connection with the touch about your favorite or least favorite relative who displayed or demonstrated some aspect of your culture or your heritage or your cultural upbringing. So connecting the idea of that cotton ball with a relative, grandfather, grandmother, mom, dad, daughter, son. What's a memory that you can connect with somebody who represents or demonstrated or displayed cultural heritage for you? Dig deep for that one. Maybe it could be someone who you never met. Someone who you just heard about. And I'll have you finish up that last thought, last image, last idea. So for the 5th sense, I call it the wild card. I'll call it the wild card sense. So it's sound, but I want you to answer the question, where do you come from? As you're listening to this next part. I love how people are still writing. You're like, wait, no, I'm still getting this out, getting this idea out. So for sound, listen to it. And then you're thinking, allowing the image to come, not necessarily thinking, but allowing that to come and writing down the 5 things that the sound reminds you of in connection to your heritage and your culture. I think baby outside. It's good. Right. Poetry, we can use everything. Use everything. Hey, you. 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 Where do you come from? Hey, you. Hey, you. Hey, you. Hey, you. Hey, you. Hey. So in the interest of time, I'm gonna give you all the missive. There's one more on the handout, so you can go back and look at that for yourselves when you revised your poem. But now look at everything that you've written. Go through each stanza or each element and answer that question. Where do I come from? And you can write that at the top of the paper, if you want to write it in front at the beginning of each of the stanza. But now you're going to answer that question. So this is when you get to revise. You can have a separate sheet of paper if you want. You can go back and forth, or you can just revise right with what you're working on now. But I think a separate sheet of paper might be better. So that way you can go and pull what you want from the workshop, from the census. So try to get between 4 and 6 stanzas, 4 to 6 lines per stanza. And I'll give you a few minutes to do that. If you can, because we did 5 work, I know, that's 4, 3. Or let's say at least 10 lines, maybe. If you can get 10 lines, just for now.
Almost like 10 minutes late, we can have much difference, we have about 20 minutes. Yeah. ones who weren't here. That's what I've been doing. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to go back.
And remember, you can pull from anything in the workshop if you feel like it fits better in a different place. If you feel like if sight and sound should go together, or if texture and sound should go together. Pull from any aspect. How many people need another few minutes before we share? We'll take another minute to finish up that last thought, last image, feeling, idea. maybe. Who would like to read? Who would like to share? Who's brave enough to read their cultural heritage poem? We're still writing. And if someone at home, if you would like for us to read your poem at home, or I don't know if there's a way that we can actually listen at home, but I'd like to hear some of the poems. Could I have them come up here? Oh, yeah. Thank you for your bravery.
Okay, now I feel like I'm on Captain Kangaroo. Over the phone. Garlic and onions simmer in olive oil, the inflection point for family meals. The pot of rice on our daily table, the chicken, beans, picadinho, juice that soaks the bread like memory. All I taste is the sorrow of these questions, the narrow space between cultures, the way three sisters cooked with foreign spices in foreign kitchens, 3 countries apart from home. I come from the susurro of Portuguese, my mother ninando by my crib the song of Onda do Mar, the cry of the child, was it me? Or tios, tias, avós left behind. I come from perpetual immigrants, always packed and ready to cross the river, leave the village, the country, take the boat. I don't look at it. My English is clipped and clean and passed so well that culture slipped through my fingers like fish. My mother lost my home, left behind so I could commute. She didn't know it was coming to me.
Oh my gosh. Wow, wow. Hola, that's what we say in the Sweat Lodge, hola, or the powwow trail. That was beautiful. There's so many images that like impacted me, sat on my heart. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Who else would like to share? You get to come up. I was gonna say the hot seat, but we're gonna change the language. You get to come up to the sweet seat. Who would like to share? Yes, please. You can come up. The sweet spot, yes. Please, yes. Where the camera is, so like little, oh, you're good, okay, sweet.
Scent of carnation, Ma's favorite. Ma's favorite to teacher, to funeral, to Mary's Day. My bouquet to Our Lady of Guadalupe Church. Fumed bouquet of carnations I carry to the front of the incensed altar. Lay at Mary's feet. Jamaica, purple, crimson, pungent, flowered leaves. Dried, then burst into life with cool water. Sweetener of honey. A glass bottle with festive carmine leaves. Carried on push carts, on streets of LA. Drink for thirsty Mexicans. Betrayal. A flag that says we are all equal. We all should look the same. My little girl crush, Linda, with her scent of playground sweat. At my front wooden gate, she stands back to the sidewalk and says, "Who's that? He's scary." My father, my dad, my brown father with curly black hair. I thought she was my friend.
Wow, wow, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Such a barrage of beautiful images. Thank you for that. Yes, yes.
What I said about the Jamaica, that's hibiscus leaf, that's a fragrance. Hibiscus.
Hibiscus comes from Jamaica?
But also.
It comes from Jamaica?
Yes, it's from Jamaica, Jamaica,
Um,
but it's used for medicine.
Okay, I didn't know that. I did not know that. I didn't know that. So thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you all. one last person? If not, we'll close up the workshop. It's okay. If you're gonna, as soon as I say stop, and you're gonna like run to take the mic from me. One last person. Okay. So I want to ask, was this a helpful workshop for you all to start thinking about writing cultural heritage? Okay, yes, thank you. I hope so. I hope so. And this is, again, it's brave. This is a brave kind of poem to write because we are digging deep into those memories. And an important poem, I think. Or, I guess what we can even call it like a genre, if I wanted to call it its own like little genre, maybe not genre because it's fiction poetry, theme, motif. Okay, thank you so very much, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shonda.
Thank you.
Another round of applause for Shonda. Great way to, start off a weekend.
Yeah.
One of us. So thank you for that and, for your time, your resources, your talent, sharing all of that with us. As we close, please help us with future planning by filling out a short feedback form, which will be in the chat. And again, Edwin will be mailed out to everybody who's here in person. Just once again, today's program was made possible by a grant from California Arts Council. And thank you all on the board, who actually do a lot of work for these grants. It's not easy and, you know, that we get to do it every year so that we can keep going. And so thank you to, Sochi and all the other members on the board who you know, and just work with something that's a nonprofit so we can get these grants. It's a lot and we appreciate it. If you enjoyed today's program, also please consider making a small donation. So when you submit items to donate, the donate button on womenwhosubmitlit.org. And submit to Women Who Submit. So if there's a donation box in there, we also have a couple of donation jars if you're here in person and if you submit a donation. And of course, thank you to all who made today possible. For all who came in person, all who joined on Zoom. The Zoom will now close, but for those in person, please enjoy some snacks. We will begin